If you've ever seen a picture of these tiny white strawberries with bright red seeds, you probably thought they were either AI generated or some experimental fruit NASA forgot to mention. But nah, this little berry has a completely real, wildly complex backstory rooted in centuries-old strawberry genetics, modern breeding programs, abandoned agricultural experiments, and a comeback arc so dramatic it basically deserves its own documentary. Today, we're unpacking how a fruit that looks like it fell out of an anime food scene ended up on gourmet plates, genetically confusing your tongue with flavors that taste like a strawberry trying its best impersonation of a pineapple. By the end of this deep dive, you'll know exactly why pineberries exist, how they're grown, why they nearly went extinct, why some horticulturalists get mad when you call them GMOs, and why chefs obsess over them even though 99% of the world still hasn't tasted a single one. Let's get into the science, origins, myths, hype, horticultural drama, and bizarre evolutionary side quests of the legendary pineberry. The pineberry, scientifically classified as a variant of Fragaria times Ananassa, is one of the most intriguing fruits in the modern berry world. Despite its exotic appearance, it is not a newly invented species, not a GMO, and definitely not a pineapple hybrid, even though internet memes have insisted otherwise. Instead, the pineberry originates from carefully developed cultivars descended from the original hybrid strawberries that first emerged in the 1700s, when European gardeners accidentally crossbred the Chilean strawberry, Fragaria chiloensis, with the North American wild strawberry, Fragaria virginiana. This hybridization produced the modern garden strawberry, the red strawberry we all recognize. But buried within that genetic lineage was a recessive set of traits that, when expressed, produced white strawberries with a distinctive aromatic profile. This is where pineberries enter the story. Pineberries are essentially strawberries with their anthocyan and pigmentation gene switched off, meaning they do not turn red as they ripen. Their seeds, however, retain the characteristic red hue, resulting in the spectacular contrast that gives pineberries their reverse strawberry aesthetic. The mutation affecting pigmentation is similar to the one found in the Japanese Shirohuseki white strawberry variety, but pineberries differ significantly in flavor, aroma, and propagation history. One of the most fascinating aspects of pineberries is their aroma profile, which chemically contains a higher ratio of methylanthranilate, a compound responsible for the pineapple-like scent. This is the same compound responsible for grape-flavored candy and certain tropical fruit notes. That's why pineberries taste like a sweet tart strawberry with a distinct pineapple top note. Their name, pineberry, is actually a fusion of pineapple and strawberry, reflecting this sensory crossover rather than any botanical relation to pineapples. Despite appearing futuristic, pineberries nearly vanished before they ever became popular. By the late 20th century, the original Chilean white strawberry genetics were declining due to market preferences favoring large, red, firm commercial strawberries suitable for long-distance distribution. Growers abandoned white-fruited varieties because they were softer, smaller, and had a shorter shelf life. For decades, pineberries existed mostly in seed banks and obscure horticultural collections. Their revival began in the early 2000s when breeders in the Netherlands reintroduced the white fruiting phenotype using selective breeding rather than genetic modification. They stabilized a cultivar known as White Dream, later marketed widely under names like Pineberry and Snow White strawberries. These modern pineberries are fully natural, created by crossing and selecting plants that express the recessive white fruit trait consistently. Growing pineberries requires a bit of horticultural finesse. They are often described as needing cross-pollination from standard red strawberries to maximize yield. While this is somewhat overstated, the presence of compatible pollinators does improve fruit production. Because pineberries are smaller and more fragile, they are primarily cultivated in protected environments such as greenhouses or high tunnels. Open field production works but results in lower yields and greater vulnerability to pests and molds due to their soft texture and thin skin. The fruit itself is typically small, ranging from 1 to 2 centimeters in diameter, though modern cultivars can reach up to medium strawberry size under ideal conditions. Their texture is softer and juicier than commercial strawberries, making them unsuitable for long-distance shipping but perfect for gourmet use. Chefs prize pineberries for desserts, salads, patisserie work, and cocktails. They provide a unique color contrast and an aromatic profile that stands out even when surrounded by other fruits. Nutritionally, pineberries are similar to traditional strawberries, rich in vitamin C, manganese, antioxidants, and polyphenols. Their lack of red pigmentation means they contain lower levels of anthocyanins but still possess ellagic acid and other beneficial compounds. Interestingly, the absence of anthocyanins does not make pineberries immature or unripe. This is a common misconception. Ripe pineberries are white to blush pink with bright red seeds. Their sweetness peaks when their skin takes on a slight translucent sheen. Another interesting detail is that pineberries demonstrate a form of albinism caused by recessive genetic expression. The mutation prevents the fruit from producing red pigments even when fully mature. But unlike true genetic albinism, the leaves and plant remain green. This selective pigment mutation is one reason pineberries are still studied by plant geneticists exploring fruit pigmentation pathways. Commercial pineberry production has been increasing slowly but steadily. They remain niche, partly due to higher production costs and the delicate nature of the fruit. However, consumer interest spikes whenever photos of pineberries go viral online. Social media fascination with white strawberries, especially the expensive Japanese cultivars, has boosted demand globally. Pineberries are now grown in Europe, North America, and parts of Asia, often sold in high-end grocery stores and specialty markets. The cultural impact is unique. Pineberries sit at the intersection of horticultural history, mutation genetics, culinary innovation, and viral food aesthetics. They are a perfect example of how an overlooked recessive trait can evolve from near extinction into a premium, trendy superfruit. In the future, breeders aim to develop pineberry cultivars with improved firmness, larger fruit size, and longer shelf life while preserving the distinct pineapple-like flavor. As controlled environment agriculture expands, pineberries may become far more common, shifting from niche gourmet fruit to a mainstream specialty crop. The journey illustrates how biodiversity can resurface when global food culture becomes curious, experimental, and visually driven.